Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chris and everyone that's listening and everyone who's watching on record. Today, we are going to be talking to Chris Dawe from London Mortgage Partners. He's going to tell us a little bit about his journey, where he's got to in the mortgage industry and the business they're in at the moment, how they got there. So, first of all, thanks for joining us, Chris. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for the invite.
No problem at all. So just tell everyone about London Mortgage Partners, how it came about.
Sure. So London Mortgage Partners, we've been going now since July of 2019. We had a bit of a tumultuous start. We were 6 months in, or 7 months in to writing business, and then the pandemic hit. Just moved everyone into a new office actually at that time, so that was interesting. We were there about 10 days, I think, before we moved back out. But subsequently we've grown now to 20 people. We've got 2 joining at the end of this month, so that'll take us up to 20 people. We're a directly authorised mortgage firm. We trade under 3 banners, which is London Mortgage Partners. We also have a private client trading name, which is NNP Private Clients, and then we have a specific insurance or protection arm, which is called NNP Protect. Good.
So the reason I wanted to speak to you, as we've kind of discussed in the past, that I love what you're doing there in regards to the new blood into the industry. I think it's really important. I think there's too many brokers, especially in the city, fighting over 4 or 5 people that are looking to move around. So I know you've taken that kind of exceptional route of we're going to grow them how we want it. So talk to me about, obviously you've come from a corporate background. Tell me about the corporate background you've come from and why you've transitioned into that new way of thinking.
Sure. Well, I think that everyone can benefit from starting in a corporate environment. Coming from doing the bulk of my career at Alexander Hall, or one of the big corporates in London, you learn a lot about the industry. You learn a lot about how to manage your time, how to effectively act as a mortgage advisor. I think that gives everyone a good standing within the industry and a good sort of education of how to start your career. Ultimately, for me, I wanted to do my own thing. Always had that in mind. That was something I always wanted to work towards. When I was at the corporate. On the corporate side, I was very much involved in the training and the management of new entrants into the market. And I knew that when I started my own business, I had 2 options really. One of which is to go out and, for want of a better word, cannibalise the other people that are out there and try and convince people to come and work for me. Or you can take perhaps the longer route and in some respects the harder route of understanding what it is you want to build, bringing in some smart, ambitious people around you, and very much trying to mould them and guide them into the mortgage advisors that you want them to be. It's hard at the start, but as you progress and you go forward, you don't have a lot of the problems that a lot of other people encounter, which is everyone's on the same wavelength. They've all been trained the same way. And you have a very manageable, happy workforce, as opposed to lots of individuals, which can sometimes happen if you go the other route, which is just employing well-known mortgage advisors from other from other places.
Was that tempting? Because obviously you've got great connections with the AH guys and that kind of thing. Was that tempting just to go, you know what, I could just take that from that, set up again, or did you always have that vision of how you saw it? Being like the new guys?
I think it's tempting from a short-term cash flow perspective. If you're going to go into this and you want the easier route, the easier route is to set up a route for other people to do business and then just attract them to you and let them do their business through you. I think it comes down to what you want to set up from the beginning. I was very clear, and I had a very clear vision from the beginning of what I wanted to do. And that involved bringing through new people. My business plan is written based on bringing through new people, and my cash flow was adjusted accordingly. But if you're not in a position to do that, and you're cash strapped at the beginning, then a quick and easy route to doing it is just to create a route for people to submit business and then attract them to you to do so. Which some people are going to have to do that because they're not in a position to do it the other way, which is...
Well, let's touch on that position, because it's not all sunshine and rainbows training people up from the very beginning. There's a tough bit. It's easy to talk about the bits when they're going well, but talk to me about the kind of the difficult bits of starting a team from scratch, where obviously cash flow is key, but what else were kind of the hurdles that you faced where other people don't, if they're just kind of plug and play and people in who are, industry, everyone knows them, it's just another brokerage?
Sure. Well, I think you're taking on a lot more risk, aren't you? Both in terms of, ultimately, you're taking people on normally on an employed basis, so you're paying them from day one. That's a risk to your cash flow. Yeah. Most people are going to be cash flow negative, definitely for the first, 3 months, maybe 6 months of them starting within the industry. So you're going to have to work out a way to cover them in that respect. But they're also, you're investing, there's a lot of time invested in getting them to a position of competency, and that's something which is again a risk. You might take people on that you think are going to be very good further down the line, and it transpires that you invest 6 months, 9 months worth of time into them, and maybe they're not what you thought they were going to be, or you can't get them to where you want them to be. If you're taking the other route of just taking on people that are already experienced, then you have a point of reference of what business they're doing at the moment, etc. Yeah, but I think that for me, it's just making sure that you recruit well, and you get people that are looking sort of aligned with your goals, looking for the same things you are. And the key thing that I look for are people that are smart, ambitious, and willing to learn. Really.
Yeah. You've genuinely got like a nice bunch there as well, haven't you? I know that's one of your main things. Like, don't lie, be nice. Like, it's not hard. They're just they can go by that. And have your retention's been really good since the beginning. And I know some people have struggled with that with new people. And I know this is going to seem obvious to you because you do it, but I think it's really important for people listening, especially if they're doing, like, with your vision, you're so clear, aren't you, on what the person you wanted, how the company looked like. Talk to me about how that came about, like, in regards to the vision and what it looks like. Would you say, like, that's made a big difference?
Well, I think I had sort of 15, 20 years experience previously of seeing a lot of different types of firm, the way they manage, the culture they create. So it was very easy for me to determine what I didn't want. And I think that's a good starting point for a lot of people. Yeah. I think from my perspective, much like yourself, I'm very much into learning from other people, reading books, etc. I think you and I have spoken about this before, but one thing that sticks in my mind is I think it's a Richard Branson quote, which is, train them so that they could leave, but treat them well enough so that they won't leave. I think that's something that a lot of people, if you just stick by that mantra, when I go to a lot of broker events, people will talk to me and they say, "Oh, you're not worried about so and so leaving, or this happening, or that happening." Well, I would like to hope that I treat everyone well enough that's why they stay. And if there was an issue relating to them needing to leave or wanting to leave, that we can have an open dialogue. And if there's something I can adjust my end, we'll adjust it my end. If not, and it's right for them to go, then I'll help them on their way, put them in touch with a great recruiter, and sort of help them on their way. But touch wood, that hasn't happened so far. And I think that's because we just invest so much time in making sure that everyone is treated well. Everything is done in the fairest possible way. We're not knocking anyone on their commission statements or bending the rules for this person and not bending the rules for that person. We have a clear system, a clear set of rules. We play fairly within those rules, and I think that most people, for most people, that's all they really want from their employers, that they're treated well and treated fairly. So as long as we continue that.
That's not that, because for you that's just like second nature. That makes complete sense. But I really hope people listening who are looking to take people on, like, at the moment, you can have the best leads in the world, you can have a fancy office and that kind of thing, but If you're not keeping people happy, people will leave. It's a different generation now, and I think you've got like the big boys, like you guys you used to work for, are still in that kind of. I just think there's a bit of a changing of the guard at the moment with how brokers are. Like it's not that shiny shoe brigade. You know, they do want different things. They do want to be treated well. They do want to make you. You need to make sure everyone's happy at work. It's not just about numbers all the time. I get people calling us all the time about, I want X, Y, Z numbers wise, and won't tell us anything about culture. And they think, well, you're missing the point. And I think you've nailed it on the head. That's why I think it's really important people kind of see businesses like yours, because you build it on culture, not on cash. I think. We built on your own.
Well, it's not a charity. We do all right cash wise as well. But
yeah.
I think that's the
reason they get to that. The reason they get to that stage is because of the way they're treated, aren't they? Because
I would hope so. Yeah, I think that a lot of it is having the willingness to to support people to be as good as they can possibly be. Like I will openly say, I am not the best mortgage advisor in my firm. If you want some really solid mortgage advice about what's going on in the market, you want someone who's got their finger completely on the pulse. Well, there's plenty of people in my firm that I will refer you to before I start talking to you about it. And I think that that's one of the things that people are sometimes cautious of, that they don't want to push people above them or in front of them, that they want to to try and keep people down. And unfortunately, you're just never going to get anywhere if you take that. You take that attitude.
Bit of an ego thing, bit of an ego thing with bosses, owners, small business owners. I'm the same with trying to relinquish things that I know I'm not good at, because it's hard, isn't it, to go, you're better at me than that, so you do that, I'll do this. And but yeah, it's a big ego thing for especially brokers, because you're a broker, so to say that is but it helps your business.
Yeah.
So over the last couple of years, I'm all right to say you're on your sort of third recruitment drive for new guys as well. Then, so you've successfully got people through two lots of new advisors through the business.
Yeah.
So they've gone relatively quickly, because I know we spoke a few months ago. The last lot we're going through, and they seem to have shifted quite quickly. Is it getting quicker, or are you getting better at it, or is it still pretty similar? Is it like off the shelf type thing now, where this is what you do to a new trainee? That's how it works.
I think one of the things that I know you and I have spoken about in the past, that I invest a lot of time into the systems and the processes around the way that we work. So when new people join now, there is a very clear structure and a very clear process for them to follow. So that's removed the need for us to spend a lot of time explaining that element, and therefore we can just concentrate on teaching them the sales element of the job, if you like, because we've covered off. We have our own in-house compliance, we have our own very good CRM system, and our own processes that the guys follow. Therefore, we don't have to spend too much time explaining that. It's like, okay, when you've got your first deal to go through, you phone Katie in compliance, you run through that with her, then you follow this system which is laid out in the most basic way possible. And then
and they've got admin support along the way as well, haven't they? So they're not doing it from start to finish.
Yeah, and that's it. And Catherine and the back office staff, they will support the person through through that process. So I think that's one thing that served us really, really well, is having disproportionately, I can't think of the right term, but disproportionately, it's a terrible word, but slick processes for a firm when we were very, very small. And then we've just leveraged those processes. So as new people come in, they can just plug and play rather than having to mess around, trying to change a process.
A bit of an act as if, even if you don't need it yet, you want to have the systems in place for the firm that you're going to be, as opposed to the size you are. Because otherwise you're chasing your tail 2 years down the line with systems that are antiquated, and it makes sense. But again, it's a cash flow thing as well, isn't it? Because that wasn't cheap to set everything up to make it happen, but it pays dividends in the long run.
Yeah, I think the one bit of advice, if I could give people one bit of advice about setting up a new firm, that would be it, which is, often I get, as you know, do a bit of consultancy for people, and often I get brought in and ask questions when they're already sort of floundering a bit. and we're trying
Too
to
late.
install some processes and systems, and it's like, oh, I've got all this business coming in, but we don't know what we're doing with it. We've got no retention policy in place. We've got no real CRM system. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. It's like, actually, in an ideal world, what you want to do is create a situation where you can take a client through the perfect sales process, start to finish. Once you can do that, and you've done that a couple of times, well, you can do that thousands of times because you're just applying the same process to the same client. If you just, flood yourself with a load of business, eventually there is a saturation point. And when that hits, then you're in a situation where every client's not getting the best advice. And then you're going to start getting negative reviews and all of that bad stuff that happens off the back of it. So, the best advice I could give someone starting fresh would be, from the outset, invest in getting your processes right. It doesn't mean money. It could be a spreadsheet that you've got that works very well. Or flow chart, whatever. But just invest in something so that you're all doing it the same way, and then you can leverage off the back of that to grow the business quickly if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, because again, I speak to loads of new people who are ready to set up their own brokerage. They're ready to go, but it's just because they've got a lot of leads. And I think, like, as bad as that sounds, like that's the worst reason to set up a business, is because you've got lots of leads. Because if they dry up, or your customer service drops and they eventually dry up, like you say, it's process, isn't it? And as boring as it sounds, because most mortgage brokers are salespeople, so actually getting your head around the process to put it on paper. I mean, let's talk about that, actually, because you've got a great team around you. So does your brain, I'm assuming your brain works a little bit like mine. Like, I'm not great at, like, process, I'm not good at. So do you have people around you who are very slick at that side of things, or did you have to kind of force yourself to do it at the beginning? How did you come about that kind of process?
So the first employee I had was Catherine, who you've met, and a lot of people have met.
Amazing.
And I always laugh with Catherine and say, the first day she turned up, I gave her a pencil on my credit card, a pen, a pad on my credit card, and said, right, we need to set up a mortgage firm. And so she was buying her own laptop and setting everything up, and we've gone through that process.
You've got a laptop at home, and
yeah, that's it. Yeah, and so at one point there was, we had an operations manager before we had a mortgage broker. And
that's that acquisition, isn't it? That's that setting up a business. And so how it's going to look like. Because otherwise you're looking for an operations manager when you've got too many advisors and you're drowning.
That's it. And then we had a team of 6, which was 3 admin, 3 brokers. And then we were able to grow on top of that because we spent some time with the admin staff. I got Aston, who you've met, who's now progressed through to being an advisor. One of the things that Ashton done fantastically when he first joined, and he joined, I won't embarrass him by telling everyone his age, but he joined very young, as a second job. And one of the things he done for us was he created that flow chart for the case managers to follow, and that was his job that he created over time. And then when the next one come in, his job is to teach them the flow chart. He can then progress up to be a training advisor. The next one comes in, they teach them the flow chart, they can progress up. And it's just, you can create an internal sort of promotion system, if you like, which just feeds itself if someone knows that their job is to train the next person coming in to do the job that they're coming away from, then you haven't got to spend your time doing it. So, I think, it's all, ultimately you need the business coming in to pay for all of this, or go for some money.
We will go through that, because that's an interesting one, because it's not all about the process. Like I say, you need the phone to ring, but you do that really well as well. So I'd like to talk to you about that as well. You guys are heavy on social media, aren't they? Like they're smashing it in regards to where they go. I know it's relevant to your clientele, but talk to me about that strategy, about how you planned your social media. Is it a strategy, or was it kind of organic?
Sure. So when we first started, one of the industries that we had a very firm footing in was the creative creative industry, primarily sort of creatives of East London, the whole sort of Shoreditch, Hoxton, Dalston vibe. And we're very lucky to have some clients that have a huge social media presence, millions and millions of followers. So one of the easy things for us to do straight off the bat was to create an image that was conducive to those people being happy to promote us, and then just ask them to promote us. So Instagram continues to be a very strong business generator for us. We're constantly
the sound of all the old brokers in my head resonating around going, you'll never make money from Instagram. No one's looking on Instagram for a mortgage. I'll go speak to someone who's making money from it. They genuinely do.
Yeah. I mean, we've done a very successful campaign where we brought in a very well-known and respected social media sort of finance influencer. And we've done a series with that David done that was really, really well received. At the moment, the guys they do a Rate Watch Wednesdays, which is just taking it in turns to film somebody at the camera, just talking about interest rates, and then they do like a mortgage magic thing on a Friday, which is about a case that we've done that maybe someone else couldn't do, or whatever it may be. And we're just gearing up really for our next set of doing some formal recording to create some content, because it does work.
Is it all, I mean, you said formal recording then, but is it always been just you, phone, bang it out?
So the stuff we've done with the influencer, we brought in a proper camera lady for the day. She filmed everything, and then she cut everything up and produced it all for us. But again, you just have to be a bit creative. Like, I think she was actually the social media person for the British rowing team or something like that. Just happened to come in.
Relevant to mortgages.
Yeah, exactly. So all you need is someone that's got a bit of a creative brain and can do it. And all I can tell people is it does work. We might have invested £1,000, £1,500, £2,000 into a day of filming, but it's easily created 20 transactions.
It would be amazing to see the third generation leads that creates as well.
Yeah,
fourth, that stuff is just hanging around.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, it really resonates, and I think it's one of the main reasons to try and be a DA firm. I saw a lot on LinkedIn about the networks sort of not allowing people to do certain things on social media, and it's just ridiculous. That
drives up the wall. In this day and age, with how reactive social media is, it's a 2-day turnaround to get something signed off to post online. Just forget it, because it's gone. People don't care in 2 days' time.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, and to stop people doing it is stopping them using. I mean, it's basically saying to people 50 years ago that you can't advertise on the radio or you can't put a billboard out. It's like, what choice are you left with? So I think that for us, it's been a huge generator of business, and something that we'll continue to invest a lot of time in.
I know you did the strategy from the beginning, but did it make money from the beginning? Because I think people think, like, if they post for 3 months, like with me on LinkedIn, it doesn't work straight away. You have to be consistently doing it. And is that the case with mortgages? Because some people will give up after a bit. It's just, tell me about.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if I'm really honest, we were helped hugely by our client base. There was a video that David done that we got someone to share, and
you've just given 400 brokers that excuse not to do it now. Yeah. Because I've got the same client.
We got 80,000 views off of this video, one share or something. But that said, not all of them do. Some of them only get 200 views. Some of them get 300 views. It's about creating something that resonates with one person. That's all you need. If you said that every 10 posts you go online, you can get one deal out of it. Well, I'd take that. It's fair. It's relatively sort of cost effective.
Martin Stewart said that to me from London Money. Martin Stewart said to me about Twitter when he said, people take the piss out of it and that kind of thing. He said, but if I'm making a quid every time I tweet, I'm going to tweet 300 times a day. I don't care.
Exactly. Like, and all I can say is it does work. you've seen our environment, you've seen our office is very buzzy. There's a lot going on. The phone constantly rings, and we're not doing any other advertising. You know, it's all digital, it's all social media or SEO and all of that fantastic stuff.
Because all your guys, they're not running out and getting their own leads, are they? I know they help with the social media side of things, but your phones are ringing, aren't they? That you're busy in the market.
They generate their own leads through referrals. We have a fairly unique referral way of getting new referrals, which I won't give my business.
Can't give everything away, can you?
but it involves, you know, sending something to the client, and again, we make sure that the thing that we send is conducive to them then potentially posting it on social media. Then we get a bit more of a, you know, an uplift off of that. So I think it's trying to just have creative ideas about how you can generate more business, because it's so competitive. You know, the people, everyone's trying to nick everyone else's business. So you need to do something which makes you stand out, or that brings people directly to your door. And that's what we've really tried to focus on.
Because you couldn't run your business with cash flow wise, bringing in new people, if you were doing that, like internet leads, 10% conversion rate, you know, buying in bulk, that kind of thing. Just physically, like you'd need such deep pockets, wouldn't you? So it has to be, that referral thing has to be like the bread and butter, unless you're willing to just pump so much money into internet bought leads you're fighting over with someone else.
Yeah.
We won't think about the referral system a bit more.
I think the other thing is that serves us very well, and I should point out, is we've got some fantastic what I would call sort of corporate referrers. So, you know, people that are sending us a high amount of leads that we have a corporate relationship with.
And how are those relationships? Sorry, Chris, I'm going to keep jumping in. How are those relationships built at the beginning? Was that you? Was that the team? Was that social media? Was that from your connections from?
So a bit of both, really. I think partly through my connections, which are, you know, I've been around for a long time, know a few people, but we've won quite a few, to be honest, by performing well on a trial basis. So saying to people, look, you know, you're unhappy with who you're currently using. Why don't you give David and the team a chance to really blow your mind, you know? And if we can, we will. And that's what we've done. We've taken it forward. And I think that when they start dealing with us and they realise that we've got the social media presence and everything else to sort of back it up, that it sort of generates a good partnership. So a lot of it's fair to say we do our own marketing, we have our referral system, but it'd be unfair to say that we don't have these corporate relationships as well, which bring in a lot of leads. But again, it's not just a case of going out and getting a relationship. People can send their leads. They can send their leads to whoever they want, and people are constantly trying to be that person to get the lead. So it's once you've got that relationship, how do you keep it? How do you maintain it? What's your strategy to help them to do more, etc., etc.
Good. You touched on something earlier on. I just wanted to get to this because you mentioned about your retention kind of plans with your customers. You're just at that kind of nice point, aren't you, where you're starting to get those kind of fixed rates and that kind of thing, return customers. You're at that stage in the business. I don't know how it was in your corporate, but I was speaking to someone recently from a few people from a couple of the big corporates in the city who have no client retention policy at all in the way they're targeted. It's new business. The mortgage advisors are constantly on new business. I know they're attached to estate agents, a lot of these guys, so I do understand the new business comes from that. But they wouldn't have to sell another house if they got 60% of the retention. Do you know what I mean? It blows my mind. So you've obviously got that retention kind of plan in place, retention strategy. But tell me about that, like how important that is for new business.
Yeah, well, I can categorically tell anyone who's new to the business that the people that are writing the highest level of business in this industry are doing it off the bulk of retaining clients that they signed up for their first house 15 years ago or 10 years ago, you know, and they're recruiting new clients, but they're continuing to bring forward 80% of their existing client base, because if that's how you create what I refer to my guys as the giant snowball, that once you get it moving, it gathers pace, and then you pick up some more leads, then you pick up the retention of your existing business, et cetera, et cetera.
So your 3 year, then your 5 year, and then you're back round to your 2s. And
yeah, it's exactly. If you're not doing that, I mean, you're just, I can't think of a reason not to, like, why you wouldn't do it, really.
Why is it, do you think, then, that some of the bigger guys don't target people like? Because we know people who even work for them who have phenomenal retention base, but that's not what they're targeted on. That's not the core of their business. That's not what it's not. They don't care about the customer. As again, I think that's that change in the guard thing about that quick cash, quick transaction over actually having a long-term care over a customer.
But you've got to understand, whoever you work for, you've got to understand the intentions behind that person and what are the metrics that they're working towards. If you work for a big corporate organisation and the directors of the firm that you work for don't actually own the firm, or they've got no real skin in the game, what are they measured on? Are they measured on how many new deals that they bring in? Are they measured on how many people they add to the to the CRM system, or
keeping
whatever?
Their estate agent sweet.
Yeah, keeping the estate agent sweet, exactly. So you need to understand the motivations of the people above you. That's why I'm always transparent with my guys about what I'm doing and what I'm intending to do. But from us, I mean, it's as simple as we've got a very good CRM system. We've got our sort of version of, we use HubSpot, but we've spent a lot of time manipulating HubSpot to be what we.
It's not your average HubSpot, is it? It's not.
It needed to be. No, yeah. And just every month, everyone gets sent a remortgage list that covers the next 6 months. And then if they don't ring them themselves, then someone else will, and then they'll lose that business. But yeah, it's very simple. I don't know why anyone wouldn't do it. Really, it's just a bit.
Is it the touch points along? Do you have touch points along the process as well, just to kind of keep them in, or is it?
Yeah. I'd be lying if I said we do, to be honest. I mean, obviously that's where the social media comes in handy. We try and encourage all of our clients to follow us on social media. That is a touch point, isn't it? Because for us, obviously, we don't have a fixed term. So recruitment's a little bit different in the sense it's so important for us to be in front of people all the time. Double glazer salesman, for want of a better terminology, that's why everyone was annoyed by those phone calls till you wanted double glazing. We have to stay in contact with them. But I suppose you probably don't need as many touch points as say we do, because when people need to be contacted again, which it's finger in the air for us. Yeah, I think so. I think it's. I mean, I know there are all these tech systems at the moment which have various ways of doing it, which I haven't found one that I want to use at the moment. They're all phenomenal, but not one that fits in with what we're doing. But I think for us, it's just about doing an amazing job at the beginning, trying to encourage them to follow us on social media, creating a good impression when they leave. So that's why the gifts and all of that sort of stuff come into play, and then having a retention system to contact them at the appropriate time further down the line. And that generally tends to bring through about 75-80% of the clients that we've previously spoken to. So I'm not at the moment willing to invest in something that brings it up to 85% because
87, So that's all been really useful, I hope people take a lot away from that, because I think there's too much of people thinking you start off a brokerage by having a few leads. Like, there's so much more to it, like building your culture, making sure your team are happy, which people don't think about. And number one, building your vision. I always say this to people about, write down your vision, how you see your business. Let's work backwards from there. And they're like, well, I don't really know what I want. I'm like, well, how can we build something you don't know what it is? It looks like it when it's built. So, and that may change as well, mightn't it? I'm sure yours will change along the way, but you've still got that core of what you need to do.
Yeah.
So I ask everyone this. Now, if you could go back when you're starting the business again, is there anything you would change? I mean, obviously, you didn't know about COVID when you started the business.
Yeah.
But is there anything you would do differently, or anything that you would advise people on, like pitfall-wise, that you think?
Yeah, I think there are a few costs which I absorbed, which I didn't really need to. I think we could have gone without an office probably for the first 6 months. Looking particularly now.
Do you think you could have built the culture though? Do you think you could have built the culture you have without the office?
When you're very small, I think you can. Like as I mentioned to you before, we used to meet in the Hoxton, and I can put my card down at the Hoxton, buy everyone breakfast, have as many coffees as you want, and it's still a proportion of the cost of having the office.
Hoxton is the best office in London.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Trying to queue up with a laptop with the first thing in the morning, trying to get a seat. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Cheap office space in London.
So I think I wouldn't have done that. But other than that, really, if I'm really honest, I think that absorb there were a few costs and a few missteps along the way, and I think that people need to realise that that's what happens. It's not all plain sailing. It is hard, and if you want to build something that's worth building, then you need to really look yourself in the mirror and see if it's something that you want to do, because that first 6 months is very, very hard, and it doesn't get easier. It gets easier over time if you're successful and the cash flow starts to take care of itself. But in the first 6 months, a year, if you're 500 quid short on the payroll for the month, or you're going down and drawing £500 out of the cash point, or finding the money to cover it, aren't you? So you need to get comfortable with that idea really early on. But if you can,
because there's loads of stages in the first 12 months that give you a good out. You know what I mean? Because you could have just gone back to you could be a one-man band and make money, and it's always in the back of your head that you can sell mortgages all day long from your house and make a really good living. So, like you say, that's super important as well. Like, you've got to want it.
Yeah, you've got to understand what you're doing it for, and if you don't, then you'll just give up. It's as simple as that. Or you'll get to a certain level and think, I can't go any bigger, because that's the other thing. You get to a chasm where you either fall off a cliff because you've got to try and somehow jump over the chasm to reach the next level. And in doing that, you either, a lot of people say, no, enough's enough, I'm not willing to take another risk because I've taken so many on the way to get in here. I'm just going to call it a day now and just eke out a living from where I am. But if you want to grow the business to a real big scale, at some point you've got to take another risk of taking on some more costs.
The constant level up risk. Like, where do you see the business? Where do you see the business in the not far away future, but where do you see it in a few years' time? Are you still building that vision there where there's another risk and another one, or does it just get a little bit more easy to take, or is it just a bigger risk?
I think I'm a risk taker by nature, so probably I'll keep pushing the envelope, but it gets easier because there's more cash is coming in. It's as simple as that. The better people perform, the more money's coming in. You can then use that money to create more opportunity. I think that's something that's really important. Is explaining to the staff, and it's something which I hopefully they would say the same, but push the message quite often, which is to explain to them why we're doing things. If they perform better and they hit another level, then I'll bring more staff in. That'll create more opportunity for them to have management positions and et cetera, further down the line.
People do need to realise that, don't they? It does tear down. The money does tear down. It's not like make more money and the CEO makes more money. Like, especially small business. Everyone works harder. Everyone makes more money. It's just it's an easier place to be.
Yeah, I think if surely for anyone that's worth their salt, to look down and see, a car park full of Ferraris or whatever your metric is for your staff, and see that they're all doing well. That's what everyone wants, right? It's to see that everyone's doing well. beneath you, everyone that's part of your tribe is
You'll still have the pickup truck in the car park full of Ferraris. You'll still come in with the pickup truck.
That's it. Yeah, you have just one pickup truck. That's all.
They're really useful.
Yeah.
Say again.
I don't think I'll be getting in a Ferrari anytime soon. They're like Incredibles.
That's really useful, mate. I really appreciate everything you said there. I haven't got anything else for you, so I'll close it off there. What I will say is if anyone has any questions for Chris, obviously you can find him on LinkedIn or email me, and I'll pass those over. But yeah, it's been a really interesting session. Like I said, I think it's really useful because there's too many people that look at corporates and think, oh yeah, I could build that. They're really hard to build. Actually, what you're doing is very hard to build, but it's realistically, it's how small businesses are built. You build a vision, you train people how you want to do it, and just don't be a dick. Like you know what I mean? Like treat your staff well, just be nice and make sure everyone's happy is super important. Because lots of people can generate leads, but not everyone can keep people happy. So I think you're doing a stand-up job there, as I said before.
Well, that's very kind of you. I'll try and continue.
yeah, keep going. Right, good stuff. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to try and log off this like I know what I'm doing without taking everyone off. But thanks for that, Chris. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, Marcus. Take care.